Welcome to our channel. We are Team Crushing the Meta, and you can call me D-Boy. I'm here for you guys with yet another deck profile, and this will be on Granblue 7 Seas. This is one of the strongest deck in the current meta. It does pretty well against different decks like Kagero, Norokami, Link Jokers, because it doesn't really leave field present. But if you wanted to, it could leave field present. Also, this deck could toolbox, so you can call units that you want to call, and it does make a very strong rearguard attacks. So let's just go through the deck and then I'll explain some of the cards, some of the skills, and why did I choose for some of them. So first, I play 3 of the Break Ride. I do not play 4, I play only 3 because I think this is too much. You could even play the deck with 2, but I'm going now with 3. His skill is he's a limit break 4. When another Granblue right on the top of him, that unit gets an extra 10k. Also, you can call 2 units from your drop zone and give them an extra 5k. At the end of the turn, those 2 units die. So, yeah. Also, when he attacks, he gets an extra. Yeah, when he attacks, and if you have more Granblue than your opponent's rear guards, then you can he gets an extra 2k. But the thing about this card is it's very strong because the units that you call do die, but because you can make them hollow, hollow is the new skill of Granblue, which means when a unit is placed on the rearguard circle, doesn't matter if it's from your drop zone, even from your hand or deck, you can make it hollow at the end of the turn, it dies. So, a very good skill. But let's go back into the break ride. So, playing him, especially with this card, Plagatone, which is your main grade 3. This card is really good. It's important to play 4 of him. What he does is when you ride him, you can call something from your drop zone. At the end of the turn, it dies, so on the right. And his second skill is, or his first skill is, you counterblast 2, and if you have a grade 2 or grade 3 vanguard with 7 Cs in its card name, then you can ride him from your drop zone. Which means that for 2 counterblast, you are riding him, calling something from their drop zone, and if you ride him on the top of your break ride, you call 3 units from your drop zone. So, a very good skill or a very good play to make. But Plagatone is, in my opinion, the best grade 3 in this deck, so he's your main grade 3. And for the last grade 3, I play one Ghost Dragon. This card is very, very strong. What he does is actually when you call him into the rearguard circle, you can make him hollow. And if you do so, then this card would get an extra 5k. But also when this card attacks a vanguard, then you can mill the top 2 cards from your deck. So the top 2 cards from your deck goes into the drop zone, and he gets an extra 3k. So he will be let's see, he's at 11k. Getting extra 5k would make him 16, and get an extra 3k would be a 19k attacker. So boosted by a 7k attacker, he would hit the 26 only boosted without triggers. So this is one of the rare guards that could make that important, very good attack. Also, he has a second skill from your drop zone. You counterblast 1, and you choose one of your grade 2 or greater rare guards, and you can call him. So, another good skill from him. I do like this card a lot. You have the grade 2 version of him also in this deck, but I think that this card is the one that make an impact. I only play one of him because you don't really want to ride him as your vanguard, so that's why I only played one. Next, for the grade 2 lineup, your main grade 2 is Swordman. So Master Swordman is /8, is the very, very, very good card. This is the card that makes this deck so good. Um, so what he does is when you attack with your vanguard, and if the vanguard is Night Mist, or I mean 7 Cs, so when you attack with your vanguard and your vanguard is 7 Cs, then you can retire something from the field, grade 1 or higher, and you can call him from your drop zone to a rearguard circle. So he gives you an extra attacks. Also, you can play this early game or mid game because he doesn't have a GB1 or a GB2 skill. He's just, you can play him anytime if you have a 7C's vanguard. So this riding him as your vanguard is really not bad. Also, because he's a 7C's, you can use Blegaton's skill to ride him from the drop zone, because you have a grade 2 vanguard with 7C's. So you need to play 4 of him. I do like playing 4. You could play 3 if you want to, but I think 4 is better. Next, grade 2 is Ruin Shade. I've seen people play this deck without Ruin Shade. I do like him a lot. Um, I don't really dislike the new art. I think it's great that they made a new art. But if you want to play the old one, you could play that. I do like playing two old ones because I think this art is greater. Also, I do like the new art, so that's why I play one. But 3 Ruin Shade is important. Riding him or riding her as your vanguard or calling her into rearguard doesn't really matter, but you do need the early mill, so the early cards in your drop zone, because that means then you can make a very strong first turn stride. But if you didn't really get the right mills, you can still go into Obadiah and toolbox your deck. But we will go into that later. So what Ruin Shade does is when she attacks, um, you can mill the top 2 cards from your deck and she gets an extra 2k. So she'll be a 11k attacker, but it's all about the mill. So very important card to play. And you do need her in this deck. Next, I play one of each because, as I said, this deck does toolbox, but I've seen people play 3 or even 4 copies of. This is the grade 2 version of Ghost Dragon. So, what she does, or what it does, when this card attacks the Vanguard, it gets an extra 2k, but if she's hollowed, she get an extra 5k. So that means it would be 16k attacker by itself, which is very good, I do know, but I still like the others. Um, First we have Skeleton. His skill is you can +1 when this card is called to the rearguard circle from your drop zone, so he need to be called from the drop zone. And then you can counterblast 1 and you can retire something from your opponent's field. So he's your sniper, he retires something. If your opponent has a unit on the field that you want to get rid of, then he helps you out for 1 counterblast. Also, if this unit is hollowed, which you can make him hollow, then when it dies at the end of the turn, you draw a card. So you can retire him if you want to, you still get an extra card. A very good card to play. Next you have your Ember Clone, which is when this unit is boosted, you come +1, he's GB1. This card is GB1 as well. All of them are GB1s. So when he's boosted, you can +1, and when this unit attacks a Vanguard, then you can call something from your drop zone into a rearguard circle. Which means that that unit that you call, you can keep if you want to. But you can also make it hollow if you call this guy or this. So he is good, but I think 1 is enough. Maybe play 2 at maximum. Also, I do like the 15k Interceptor because when you play now against Dimension Police or some decks that you can't guard from your hand, or you can't guard with Grade Zeros, then this card is pretty good because it's 15k Interceptor and you can call him back each turn if you want to. But you have to call him with units that you keep him on the field, like him or some cards that I will show you next. I've seen people play 2 of him and 2 of him, so you can play 2 if you want to. But I do like playing 1 of each because you can toolbox into them, so that's why. Then for the great ones, I like to play 4 of the Ghosty Perfect Guard. I know that the Unflipper Perfect Guard would be good in this deck because you can retire your rear guards if you want to, but I still don't want to lose against Dimension Police, and while playing card like this that you want to keep on the field, or other rear guards that you want to keep on the field, like when you play Slash 8 skill, this card does stay on the field if you use his skill. So when you attack with your rear guard, and then you attack with a vanguard, use his skill, call him from the drop zone. This card stays on the field. So I don't really understand why people play the other perfect guard, the G perfect guard, because you still lose against decks like Kagero or Dimension Police. But if you want to, you could do so. The reason why I played this card and not just Ghost Jin, I know that the art on the other perfect guard, the old one, is better. I do like the art on this card more, but this card has Ghosty in its card name, which could make a difference. So that's why I play 4 of the Ghosty perfect guard. Next, I play 3 of your Stride fathers. You use them to stride, and also they have Ghosty in its card name, so very good. Next, 3 Nightcrow. This is one of the cards that I do like a lot in this deck. What he does is you can call him from your drop zone by retiring anything, even a grade 0. But you do need a a 7 Seas vanguard to do so. So he's a 7k, which means that when you call something from your drop zone, let's say you have called your perfect guard, then you can replace him with this card. And next, if you call some units like Cutlass, which are only 5k, you can also replace them with this card. A draw trigger you can replace anything. I do also sometimes replace units that I have on the field, like Slash Shade, to use him again. So replace Slash Shade with Nightcrow and then attack with the Nightcrow. Use the counterblast of Slash Shade when your finger attacks, and you can call him again, retiring in this card. So you can make a lot of different combos in this deck, but he's important. So I play 3 because I don't really want to use Obadiah's skill to get him out. I need him as soon as possible in my drop zone to replace my useless rear guards. So very important to play. Next, as you see, I play 2 Dancing Cutlass. His skill is when this card is called into rear guard, you can Soul Blast 2 and you can draw a card. Why do I play 2? Only 2? Because this card is only good early game. Because you need to empty up your soul so you have more options in your drop zone. But I think that late game, Banshee would be better, because when she's called from the drop zone, you can Soul Blast 1 and draw a card. So he's a Soul Blast 2, she's a Soul Blast 1. So she's better on the long run. But yeah, I do only play 1 of her because I think that you can toolbox into her if you want to. So that's why I only play 1. And 2 Cutlass because you need him as soon as possible. He's very good early game. Then I do like to play 1 Head Start Zombie. His skill is when this card is called into Rearguard Circle, then you can, if he's hollow, then you can toolbox into your deck, and then you can put 1 card from your deck into the drop zone. But if he's not hollow, then you can put the top card from your deck into the drop zone. The reason why I do play this card is because sometimes you do still miss 1 card to put in the drop zone to make the right play. So without going into Obadiah the second time or the first time, you can use his skill to just get the right unit to the trap zone. Do remember that he's a GB1, so you can't choose him early game. So if you have him in your hand, you could keep him. When you stride, use his skill. Next, for the trigger lineup, I play 4 heal trigger. If you want to, I don't have them, but if you have them, I would play the ghosty ones. So ghosty heal triggers because you want more cards with ghosty in its card name. For the critical triggers, you run 4 Banshee. This card is really good. What it does is it goes into the soul and you draw a card, but it does fill up your soul, which you want to fill up the soul in this deck. To use Cutlass and Banshee skill more often. So that's why you play 4. Criticals, you can play more criticals, you can play draws. Doesn't really matter, it depends on your own playstyle. I like to play 4 more crits because this deck, your Vanguard doesn't have a critical trigger extra. But you have very strong rear guards and a strong attack from your Vanguard, so they need to guard. If they guard your Vanguard with a perfect guard, then you can give the crit into your rear guard, and the rear guard would still attack for 26 or a very high number, which means that your opponent would still have to guard that one as well. So that's why you play 8 crits. Next, I play 3 draws. I do like the draw triggers. I always like the draw triggers. Also, if this card is in your hand, you can call him and replace him with a unit from your drop zone. Like, let's say you can call him and then replace him with Nightcrow, so you can still make very strong columns. But draw trigger is always good if you drive check him or damage check him. That's why I play 3. And then I play only one Mickey the Ghostian family. I like this card a lot. It's very good. When he's called, when he's placed on the rear guard from your drop zone, then you can, if this card is hollowed, so you call him, you make him hollow, then you can give another rear guard an extra 10k. So it makes your rear guard attack for very strong, ridiculous numbers. The reason why I only play 2 because I still think that the criticals is better in this deck, but I do like to play 1. Also, when this unit is put in the drop zone, if this card was hollowed, then it goes back onto your deck. So you don't really want him back into your deck, you really want him in your drop zone. So what you do is, um, you get him into the drop zone first with Obadiah skill, or if you guard it with him, then you call him from your drop zone. When you stride, you give something else an extra 10k and you make him hollow. Then you retire him and call Nightcrow to have him in your drop zone. So you only call Nightcrow to have him back into your drop zone. That's why you do so. So Nightcrow is a very important unit in this deck because he helps out to make the right columns and to gift the right units into the drop zone. You can play 4 if you want to take this one out, but I still like 3 and 1 of him. Next for your starter, which is very important, the one that came out in the trial deck. When this card is put in the drop zone, do its own skill of hollowing. So when he's hollowed and goes back into the drop zone at the end of the turn, you can countercharge 2 cards. This deck could be very countable as heavy, so that's why we play this starter. Another cards that you could play, um, you have your other Peter the Ghosty starter, which is very good. Countable as 1, put him into your soul, so he fill up the soul, and then you can put 2 cards from your deck, top of your deck, into the drop zone, and you draw an extra card. Why is he so good? Because if you soul blast him and you have him in your drop zone, so let's say with Cutlass, then you can call him back because he has a ghosty in his card name, so very good. And then you can Cutlass again, put him back into your soul, and you can mill more cards, and from there you draw more cards because you have him in your soul, and using his skill you draw an extra card. So it's a very good card, but I do like this starter more. Because you do need the counter charge, and as I said, I don't really think that you could play the Jeeper Vanguard in this deck because you would still lose against some clans and some decks. So it's another good starter if you want to play him. Next you have the grade 3 7Cs. So this card is the same as slash 8. So when your Vanguard attacks and has a 7Cs in card name, that you can call this card and give him an extra 2k. I don't really like this card because you don't really want to ride him as your Vanguard, so that's why I don't play him. Next, you have the when this card is called into the rearguard circle, you count +1, and then you can call something from your drop zone into rearguard circle, and at the end of the turn it dies. But this card, he's only 8k, and you do need the 7Cs Vanguard to use his skill, so that's why I don't really like him. For your strides in this deck, I do play 2 Nitros. I think that 2 are enough. You could play 4 if you want to, but I think 2 are more than enough. The thing is, when this card, she's a GB2, and when this card attacks a Vanguard, you Counterblast 2 and a G Persona Blast. Then you can call 2 units from your drop zone into 2 separate rows So you can call one into the right and then one to the left. So she is good, but the thing about her is she's a Counterblast 2 and a GP2 skill, which means that calling units from your drop zone makes a very strong attack, but she's a finisher, so she's your finisher if you want to play her. I do so when your opponent would not expect her, so when you don't have any Counterblast left, you use your starter skill the turn before that, so you have um, two Counterblasts open to use her skill. That's when this card is very good, but I still think that two are enough. Next card is Loved by the Seven Seas Night Mist. He's a really good stride. If you need to your heart should be Seven Seas to use his skill. But when you stride into him, you can Counterblast 1, and then it's once per turn skill, so Counterblast 1, call 2 units from the drop zone at the end of the turn, they die. So you can make them hollow if you want to. I do like this card a lot, but I think when I played this deck, I tested it a lot, and 2 were enough. But if you want to play more, you could play more. But I think 2 are enough. Next, I do play 2 Obadiahs. So this is the card that makes you toolbox. So you can put any 3 cards from your deck into the drop zone. But if you have 2 cards with hollow ability, then you can call something from your drop zone into the field with Ghostly's card name. So this is the card that um, I've been talking about so much during this deck profile. He's really good. This card is really amazing. It's like when you play Angel Feather and you can choose 3 cards from your deck and put them in your damage zone and recycle another 3 cards back. The thing about this card is that you are choosing which cards goes into the drop zone, which means that you can toolbox into your deck. So very good, and sometimes you do get a free card if you have a ghosty in your drop zone. What you also can do is you can put, let's say, him, because he's a hollow in a ghosty, from your deck into the drop zone, and another 2 cards, one of them should be hollowed, and you can call him out because he's a ghosty and hollowed. So, a very good card, very important to have in this deck. So playing these strides, as you can see, 6 cards, it doesn't really matter which one you want to play more. You can play one more Obadiah because he's good. He just calls something from your trap zone, and you can put so many normal units from your deck into the drop zone that you only have triggers left, so he's good. Just thin out your deck. Um, Nitros is your finisher, so she's also good, but you need only 2. If you want to play more Love by the Seven Seas, you can do so. You could play 3, but I think 2 are enough. So the last 2 cards is for you to choose. You have another stride which is also good. Um, what this card does is you counterblast 1 and you replace 2 cards from the field with 2 cards from the drop zone. The good thing about her is that, or him, I think it's a, I don't know if it's a guy or a girl, but it doesn't matter. Well, the good thing about this card is the unit that you call stay. So that's the difference between Night Mist and this card. Is when you call 2 units with him, they die, and when you call 2 units with this card, they stay. But you do replace units from the field. So if you already have a good strong field, then you don't really need to play him. You could play her. So yeah, that's why I do think that you could play 2 copies of this card. But it depends on your playstyle, and in the future when we have 16 strides, then you can play maybe 4 copies of each if you want to. Um, so yeah, this is the deck profile of the 7 Seas. I do like this deck a lot, but I will be trading this deck with a very good friend of mine, Tim Strapman from Belgium. But yeah, thanks for watching guys, and till next video.